And we're off and running Sunday afternoon here at beautiful Gulfstream Park. The man next to me, he's set. That's Ron Nicoletti. Jason Blewett alongside him as we join you live from our Paddock Set Studios. Always good to have your company. A long weekend, but a good one here, Ronnie, here at Gulfstream Park, as we have another dozen races on tap.
Dozen races, nice carryover in the Rainbow Six, over $100,000. What else do you need?
And an early start time, a little earlier than usual. As I joked around on Twitter, we're on beach time here. We take things slow and easy. We'll start a little after 12:45 p.m. and obviously we're on the air a little earlier than usual here on this Sunday edition of Gulfstream Today, and for good reason. A lot to talk about in addition to today's 12 races and that six-figure Rainbow Six carryover. Saturday, though, turned out to be a milestone Saturday for the 24-year-old jockey named Edgar Zayas, who's just a terrific young rider, terrific person, and here he is on win number 1,000 in Saturday's Sixth aboard Highborn.
Yeah, and it's very easy to root for Edgar Zayas, and you went on and he won this one, and then he won another one a little later on, so he's already on his way to 2,000.
Yeah, this was just a great celebration.
Yeah.
On a hot, long day here at Gulfstream Park, Edgar had his whole family out here, his newborn baby girl, his wife Ashley, had his dad, I believe his in-laws, and his younger brother Tyrese, and just good stuff there. It's a proud celebration in the winner's circle. It's always good to be in the winner's circle, even better when you're getting a milestone win, and I think you see the closeness with the jockey colony here at Gulfstream Park as his fellow riders came out to take the win picture with them, and a rundown of what Edgar's accomplished in a short amount of time since arriving here in the U.S.
212 wins per year since 2013, so he is on his way to be that special jockey, or he is a special jockey, but and he's getting to have a chance to ride in the big show this summer.
Yes, just 13 days out. It's hard to believe as we look at a rider who won his first race with his first mount at Gulfstream Park West in November, late November of 2012, and a short 4 and 3/4 years later, he'll be riding Edgar Zayas. Gunavera, just 13 days out from Saturday, I think August 26th, the Travers, the Midsummer Derby, and for a young rider who's basically been the workout pilot for Gunavera since that horse's 2-year-old season began over a year ago. Well, last Sunday here, getting to ride him in a race was a cool thing, and the water gets a lot deeper up at Saratoga.
I watched that performance from out of town yesterday, and just want to wish him the best of luck, and I was really rooting for him yesterday. It was good to see it done.
Yeah, and Edgar, in fact, there's no rest for the weary here. Long weekends at Gulfstream Park, but we love thoroughbred racing, and out of the 12 races today, Edgar Zayas, who's got 140 wins on the year in 2017, he's got 9 calls on today's card. We also welcome back Tyler Gaffalione, who rode yesterday up in rainy Saratoga Springs. That was some downpour they had shortly before the 4-star day, right?
Yeah, it really came down hard, but you know, I didn't think the heavy stuff was going to come down for a while when I was watching it, but it certainly did.
All right, well, we stayed fast and firm at GP, and we're fast and firm as we tell you what's on tap as far as our multi-race wagers go on this 12-race program, and it all begins with a 62.50 1-mile race over the main track in the first. There's no scratches to report there. We have 8 runners, which means we've got the dollar rolling super high 5 and an early pick 5 as well.
I'll have a ticket in just a little while, early pick 5. The first 5 races on the afternoon, only a 50-cent wager. And we always have that ever popular middle pick 5 when we have the 12-race card.
Or middle pick 4
middle
in
pick
race
4.
5.
I meant pick 4.
I know what you meant. Middle pick 4, 3 pick 4s on the program today. And such is life on these extended weekend programs at GP, where we don't even start the Rainbow Pick 6 until race number 7. Somebody was alive, and you could see the carryover of a $1.13 and change, but Cyber Josh carried the hopes and dreams of somebody or a group of people in yesterday's nightcap, but it was not to be, so that means 6 figures plus in today's Rainbow Six, and down the line in race number 8, which includes the Panama City Handicap, is our feature. We have the late pick 5.
I got this one right. Late pick 5, race 8. How's that?
That sounds great. Not a pick 8, not a pick 4.
Not a pick 8 in race 5, but I got
We'll be lucky if we can pick 1 today, right?
Exactly. It's a tough day, and let me show you. We'll start it off with my early pick 5 ticket here, and I went 2 deep, 3 deep, 2, 3, and 2, and really a tough sequence. I was looking to get a single the first race. I think Cookies Are Good is the one to beat in there, and in the second race, there's a horse that I put on top, and that's the 5, Striana. who's a daughter of Admiral's Cruise. And guess what? She's out of that stack mare Estrella.
If I hear Admiral's Cruise or see him, I know there's some stack in the pedigree.
Yeah, now you can see the rest of the progression. So I'm hoping I get that horse is a square price of 6-1, and that's what I'm banking on. Maybe get a little price, so $36 for my ticket.
And it is sort of noteworthy looking at that rundown in Ronnie's early pick 5. I mean, starting out as far as the launching pad, the Sunday opener, again, a 1 mile main track, 62.50. For me and you, it boils down to the 2 inside runners who are both taking, they're dirt horses A, but more importantly, they're taking big drops in class.
And do not pay attention to the current odds on the board. He's the only horse they look like they made a bet on. He's 1-9. Everybody else 99-1. It just looks cute, but now he's 2-1. You see it's already changing there. Cookies are good. We're talking about making a third start back from the layoff. Took a significant drop to the $6,250 level after following that second place finish. That was against 12-5 types with an ambitious 5th place finish at the $25,000 level. Put this horse where he's supposed to win.
Yeah, exactly. As he picks up a live rider, I mean, a big rider change, relatively speaking. And with love and respect, though, to Luca Panici, who's coming off a 2-win Saturday afternoon. And how can you pick against a drop-down named Cookies Are Good? Especially my bride-to-be, my lovely fiance, Christina. You've had her cookies.
Excellent.
Best in the business.
Yeah.
She made a new batch last night. She might be. She's working up at Palm Meadows as we speak.
We can use some cookies as well.
Bring them on down to Gulfstream Park, and we may have to one Friday incorporate those as part of the Friday Beat the Expert at Gulfstream Park. So cookies are good for Ronnie. I've got that one second. Bourbon City on top for me, who's a very similar horse just because of the drop-in for 62.50.
And Bourbon is good, too.
Yeah, Bourbon's good. I kind of laughed. I said, oh, we got cookies, we've got Bourbon, and of course you can enjoy those things in Gadsby Tavern, who's the number 3 horse in the openers. Gerald Bennett, 0 for 38 at the meet, looks to get off the duck today at around 12:45. We get on to race number 2, second race, and there's plenty of grass to go around on this Sunday card at GP. Mayona 16th on the turf, 3 and up, Billionaire $10,000 claimers. Would the starting point, Ronnie, here be the number 4 Ventina? It just seems like with her dropping second off the claim, they're hoping to obviously win the race and maybe get her claimed away for 10 G's.
I mean, on paper, she's the one to beat. She's taken that immediate drop to this $10,000 level after stepping off that second place finish. That was a 16 level with the poor showing at the $25,000 level. Trainer Bobby DeBona tabs Miguel Vasquez. I think this is an interesting proposition, taking that immediate drop down. So it comes with a bit of a red flag. Thus, I put the number 5 on top of my ticket straight on. And I was joking. This is the daughter of Admiral's Cruise out of the Stack Mare Straya. But listen to this. Making her first start since finishing a rallying second at this level and distance. That was back on May 7th, but she's a multiple winner at the distance. 8 wins, 8 races, 2 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. She's fresh. More importantly, I think she sits the trip behind the speed, and that's why I put her on top.
So you're looking for a meltdown here. You think there's enough pace, and that might certainly come to fruition with the likes of the 7 Bull Empress, who's pretty quick, and you've got Josie Gomez riding the 2 Polango. She's a very aggressive rider, post number 2 for Polango. And speaking of 2, your top selection is one of 2 in race 2 for trainer Reed Nagel, who's also sending out the number 3 No Opponent, who looks a little on the cheaper side, but that one is still lightly raced and will be an okay price. That's why I put No Opponent in the mix. Got that horse capping my tribe. And I'm going to take the favorite Bentina, who if she wins and gets claimed, they make a few bucks. They had taken her a couple starts back for $16,000. It's kind of a wash, but they'll make a few dollars, and I'm hoping that's the intention today. We move on to race number 3 as we come up on this 2-year-old filly, $16,000 maiden claimer. Field of 7 after our first scratch on the Sunday card. Happened to come in the 3rd race, the number 3, Secret Pie Oh My. And for me, I am taking the number 5, Sounds Like Music, and these trainer changes to Armando de la Cerda have been music to my ears, and we kind of got lucky yesterday at 5-2 to boot. Were you a little surprised the mess paid 7 and change to take yesterday's second?
I didn't have it on top. I had it in second, but you know when you're going back, and I just was telling everybody it was out. If you're not aware, I was out up at Daytona at the Daytona Dog Track doing a seminar.
How was the track? Their simulcast area.
Yeah,
for the
simulcast. It was
thoroughbreds.
very nice, but I was telling them you got to pay attention to this barn. You know? And there's guys that saying, "Oh yeah, really?" Yeah. And I said, "Yeah, you got to watch them." And right on cue, the horse wins. So, well, and named after me, the mess. So, Sounds Like Music, the number 5, as you mentioned, debuts for Armando de la Cerda after failing to fire when facing maiden special weight competition on the Arlington turf course. He's 28%. I want to show you a stat, actually, on Armando de la Cerda. First start after a trainer change on the dirt. He's 5 for 20, 25%, 45% in the money, and that $1.20 ROI. They bet him, and you can understand why. So, Sounds Like Music on the top of your ticket, but not mine.
I want the big speed, and we'll talk about your top selection in just a second. We'll give you the Blue It's Bullets rundown here with the 5 Sounds Like Music. The good news, because you don't know really where, at least going in, where this Artie Schiller filly might stand on the dirt. But the good news is 3 of the 5 siblings, of her siblings, of course, to make it to the races are dirt winners. It's a straight-up trainer change. This wasn't like a private purchase or anything like that. The owners, the outfit that currently owns her, same outfit that had her in Chicago, and she's coming out of a race, although she was beaten a pole and was essentially eased in that spot, has produced a couple of next out winners. So I am taking her with Edgar Zayas, who I think Sounds Like Music will be a little faster early than the number 7, 10 Carat Diamond, hoping to wire the field. You like Baby Awadette, who's kind of a rare 2-year-old starter for Safi Joseph Jr.
Moving to that barn after the claim stretches out to 3/4 of a mile, following that second-place finish at this level on the fast track, with a poor showing as the favorite on a sealed, sloppy track. I said in my analysis, watch the skies and bet accordingly. Fast track this afternoon. I think this one bounces back. One other thing about Sounds Like Music, really nice workout pattern at Gulfstream Park West.
Yeah,
so I think that's going to help that horse. And I threw in 10 Carat Diamond for all the reasons you mentioned. Dropping and Ralph Nix, Tyler Gaffleone. It's a daughter of Dunkirk.
Right, your leading connections at the meet in terms of victories, with Tyler G back in town and riding for Ralph Nix, who I believe enters today's program with 16 wins locally. Had another winner yesterday, and a nice training job, I thought, getting Shaka Khan to come back in a real salty spot against Sound Defense and Delicate Lady, and obviously the Knicks barn is really in a sweet spot now.
They're going good, and a couple of barns here really going good, and then always when you're handicapping that, you want to check the records of who's the hot jock, who's the hot trainer when you're doing your handicapping, because it is very streaky around here. You'll get somebody will go on a tear, like you've mentioned, David Forks, I don't know, was it 5 wins over the last 8 days or
He's
something?
He's got 8 wins since last Thursday, so we're talking 8 wins over 7 cars.
Yeah, so I mean that's what you have to sort of pay attention to.
Yeah,
so.
David's got a few live runners coming up a bit later in this program. I think the most important of which is a 2-year-old by the name of Day Trader, who ran simply gigantic first time out. On to race number 4, that's what's up next, and we're on the turf at 7.5 furlongs. 2 lifetime, 3 and up Filliamare Claimers, and I do like the early speed here of the number 7, Brianna's Bucket. We both took a shot against the likely favorite, a minor shot at that, but you've got to respect this one's consistency and early speed, and she's a game horse too, and clearly in very good form. We'll show you her last start here on July 30th. Opened up a clear lead, looked home free as the inside speed, just couldn't seal the deal over Polango. Is today the day for a mare who's 1 for 21 in her career? That was the biggest drawback to me.
That's why I put it further down. I think it's that case of second-itis that had me worried. You know, goes over there. You could see it right here. She's the number 8. Looks like she's got it done. She's going to take the bulk of the betting action this afternoon. She got to beat a neck and a head in those 2 races, so she always seems to get beat.
And she let, not to say she didn't run well, but she let a filly to her inside, that inside rival Polango. She had her dead to rights, put away, and she kind of let her back in the race and wound up losing by a tough neck. Her speed is her main weapon, and you know, you're kind of walking, I guess, sort of that tightrope. You don't want her to get too comfy on the lead, but if you go after her too early, you're probably going to cost your mount chances. But I do think Tyler Gaffleone, who's just a master of at pace and really makes few mistakes out there on the turf course, I think he'll have Bossiata just kind of off her flank, ready to roll, and her recent races are pretty good, and I just cannot ignore, with a horse who's already in respectable recent form, can't ignore the rider change to Tyler.
Yeah, but knocking on the door in consecutive races at this level and distance, as you mentioned, gets Tyler Gaffleone trying to get her back into the winner's circle. But I went with the horse you had further down in your ticket. That's August Lily, stretching out to 7.5 today. Return from the layoff to finish a rallying 4th behind a repeat winner called Touch of Quality, and the next out winner called Lady Greatness, and that was going 5 furlongs. It was on its firm course. It's a daughter of Salute the Flag, who should be closer to the pace today when stretching out around 2 turns. It's sort of a pace play for me. Comes out of a key race, and that was my angling there. If Brianna's Bucket, as I mentioned, is going to take the bulk of the betting action, would not be shocked at all if this horse won.
No, of course. I mean, you're using her any sort of multi-race play, early 5, 4s, 3s. Of course, you're going to use her defensively, whether you think she's a little vulnerable on the win end. Just off that tough loss last time out and letting a filly who she had, again, well beaten and was going to win that race going away. I think she is going to get run down and worn down today by Bossiata with my man Gaffleone. We can move on to race number 5 on the afternoon. The 5th race today is a 6-furlong sprint, the 3-up filly mare, high-priced allowance optional claimer, and it's a good one. I kind of like on this extended 12-race card, you've got a real solid field. Maybe not, you know, a 12-horse field per se, but even with a group of a half a dozen, the thing, you got some talent here, of course, and there's so many distinct resumes. You've got horses who look very different from one another as far as where they're coming from and where they've been over their recent starts. Who are you taking in today's 5th?
I went with the 3 Lyrica, and I'll tell you why. Turn it back to 3/4 a mile, rallied 5 wide to come within ahead of winning. That was the $75,000 Roselia going 7 furlongs last time out. She's a daughter of Canthero, so it's got to pique your interest, but I think she sits in the garden spot behind the abundance of speed signed on in this race. This is a total trip call for me. Getting a jockey switch this afternoon to Marcos Meneses, but I think Lyrica, if the pace scenario comes to fruition like I see it, I think Lyrica gets the job done.
And that clearly, I think, that likely very honest pace, maybe it's even on the torrid side of things, that is a major hurdle and certainly a major subplot of this 5th when you've got main contenders and horses that are going to take a ton of money like Our Girl's Charmer. She can win, but she's going to have to be very good, and she's likely not getting loose. The 5 Faith and Hope, who's risen up as a former $25,000 maiden claimer, she's never been better, but she likes to get involved. And then you've got the horse that I picked on top. You've got second, My Sweet Dove, who's going to be up on the engine as well. The good news with her, and I'm not so sure, maybe that's my biggest question with her, is she a little better at this stage of the game sprinting on the turf? She's going to have to be very good with an A-level effort to get it done on the dirt, but at least, even though she's quick, she can sit a little bit, and I like that post for her. Well,
I see her as, you know, an absolute speedball who has that tactical advantage, but the barn is pretty good. The barn is good with this type of layoff, like 26%, and surface switch 29%. Would I leave her off the ticket? No, here we go again. Lyrica is my trip play. Number 6, My Sweet Dove. It was me changing my mind and putting the 3 on top because of the trip.
Well, it's that kind of race. Yeah. I mean, you could really look at this race a bunch of times and almost come up with a different winner each time, which tells me you better use some coverage here. You better use, I would not want to get live in the early 5 here and only have a singleton in Sunday's 5th race. It's that competitive. Now, we'll see how competitive today's 6th race is as we get back on the grass at a mile and a furlong with this 3-and-up, $12,000 starter allowance optional claimer. In the Blewett, current top 10, and this is something that changes on, a weekly, daily basis sometimes, but Diaz is currently in the Blewett top 10 of horses that are running at Gulfstream Park, and for good reason. If you're a fan of the game, I think you've got to be enamored with the horse. Doesn't matter the distance, doesn't matter the race date. He just goes out there and runs hard.
And what I like about this horse is the connections know how to read the condition book, because this horse is in a sweet spot. It's, you know, going to be against optional claimers at the 12-5 level because this horse is eligible. Been on fire.
Yeah, and one of those on-fire races, so to speak, was most recently on June the 22nd, and Diaz, the Irish bred, just did not want to lose. We've got him highlighted, and he's the one you want to watch from the quarter pole home back on June the 22nd. It looked like his 2-race win streak might be in jeopardy at this point, but as Tyler Gaffleone slices through between horses and saved as much ground as possible before angling him out in the clear, a win at this point, however, not guaranteed. That horse on the front end right now the craziness, finding an extra gear, but you could see as they got closer to the wire, Diaz just kind of lowered his body to the turf and refused to lose. And the real cool thing about him is he's cut it close, yeah, but he's won 3 straight. Neck, neck, and neck.
I want to show you a stat, and this stat you might think is a little skewed because it's on trainer Tammy Levy, who trains Diaz. Layoff of 31 to 60 days on the turf at Gulfstream. 5 for 16, 31%, 50% in the money with a positive return on investment. Yes, 3 of those horses were Diaz, so it's a little bit skewed what I'm talking about. But there was one, Rara, who did the same thing, another one called Lay It Down that did the same thing. The point I'm trying to make, this barn can do it, not only with a horse that's in incredible form like Diaz, with other horses that do exactly this. So I just thought something I'd point that out.
No, I'm definitely a fan of Tammy Levy. Tammy Levy, that is. I was not that familiar with this operation before moving to Florida. Does a great job, and no need to reinvent the wheel with Diaz. They've got him in a good spot. They've got him in a groove, and why really put him up over his head just to run in a stakes race? He's eligible, and he's likely going to win today at a very short price. He doesn't fire. Let's just talk quickly, Ronnie, about our second place horses. You've got Regal Kitten for Rohan Crichton capping your exacta.
Classic horse for course type, this one. He's had 10 races here on the turf with 5 wins. Makes his first start since finishing 4th. He was beaten 2 lengths by a repeat winner called Love Conquerors. That was a 16 option allowance race going to 8 furlongs on Independence Day. This is the old horse for course angle for me.
The old horse for course angle. We've got a few horses later in the program that love this Gulfstream Park turf course as well. Gautier, my second horse in here, who's 3 for 5 locally over the GP Green. And with the first 6 down, believe it or not, we're up to the pick 6. We'll talk about Ronnie's play and have our featured 10th race after this quick timeout.
At ExpressBet, we celebrate the champions that make horse racing great. That's why we provide more ways to bet from more places than ever. We've built an entire family of brands to give players more of the rewards they deserve. Give bettors the information they need to win and provide a community for horse bettors. Because the best way to support the champions of horse racing is to champion horse racing. ExpressBet. We are racing.
Hey, South Florida, it's time to get social at sunset. This summer at Gulfstream Park, as the sun goes down, the scene heats up. Join us each week for Twilight Racing Fridays, a fusion of horse racing, food and drink specials, and live performances by local bands. Enter drawings and play horse racing bingo, your chance to win incredible prizes. Live racing begins at 2:15. Admission and parking are free. Visit GulfstreamPark.com for more details. Gulfstream Park, Twilight Racing Fridays. Get social at sunset.
Halfway home on this Sunday edition of Gulfstream Today. Glad you're still with us from our Paddock Set Studios. The sun is out on this Sunday, August the 13th, here in Hallandale Beach. The man next to me, Ron Nicoletti. I am Jason Blewett, and we're not going to blow it today in the Rainbow Six. How much are we putting in?
Over $113,000 to start at the day today. Got a $38.40 ticket, and you'll see in race number 9. I'm singling a horse in that's taken to church, who's taken to a lot of people to the cleaners when losing as the favorite in 3 consecutive. I think it's the best spot. And I wanted to keep the ticket affordable, $38.40 for my ticket. I wish you'd have gone deeper in there. I went with 4. I wish I could have used 6.
Yeah, this race is nuts. The good news, of course, and you're not dealing with 2-year-old maiden special weight runners, but the board maybe will lend itself to some clues here before the rainbow begins with some guesswork. Admittedly, in this 2-year-old $16,000 maiden claimer on the dirt going 3/4. You and I, for talking about just how competitive this race is, landed on the same horse, and I would imagine it's a connections play here with the number 6, Zionsville.
Let me give you a stat here, which I found incredible on Victor Barboza Jr. with 2-year-old first-time starters in the maiden claiming ranks on the dirt. 7 for 16, 44%, 63% in the money, and some monster return of investment of $5.78. When you see that, you say, of course you got to have this horse on the top. But there are a lot of horses in this race that have big chances.
Indeed. Now, you are dealing with the son of Bodemeister. Nice pedigree on the surface of things, a kind of designer pedigree who did not bring much money as a 2-year-old in training, just $9,000. And if memory serves, Barboza, might have been Barboza, I think it was him or Gilberto Zerpa, had a Scat Daddy 2-year-old in training purchase who went for relative pennies, was bet the other day and did not run on the main track. So that does come into play here. The 7-horse Coal Miner's Son, you've got second. I've got third, dropping out of that Easter Vigil maiden claimer. I didn't think that was the strongest field. So for second, I have your third runner, the number 5, Ty Webb. And maybe, just maybe, Mark Cassie Barnes going to start to be firing on all cylinders after getting off the schneid in a big way north of us at the Spa.
And, you know, the for sale sign is up on this horse when drops to the 16 level after getting beat double-digit lengths on dirt and turf against maiden special weight sprinters. Luca Panici is atop this Son of Midnight Loot. Looks like they just want to drop this horse, and as you know, they're looking for a spot for it to win.
Yep, for a barn that locally over the last 9 months with their 2-year-olds are actually 0 for 17, and that may come into play as we turn the page and we come up on the opening leg of the late pick 5 as Mark Cassie's operation sends out the inside 2 runners. That's the 1 Orbital Deity and the 2 American Halo. If you're wondering, I didn't use either of them in my late pick 5 play, and after David Fox saw fit to scratch the number 5 American Frolic because he had entered American Frolic and the outside runner who I have singled, the number 10 Day Trader, I said, you know what? I'm going to go on the assumption he doesn't want to run American Frolic against Day Trader in the same spot. That bodes well in the confidence department for a horse, Son of Exchange Rate, or a filly by Exchange Rate, excuse me, who just ran gigantic off an insanely interesting debut. You singled taking to church. He's taken the chalk players to the cleaners.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
he has, my friend. And I can't single him.
Right.
I'm also going to use Joe Cat, the third's horse, the number 1 Padre. He's coming out of a different race than taking to church. 1-5 for me in race number 9. Ralph Nix all the way for me in the Panama City. He's got the defending winner in Joe's DeZanimo, and he's also got my girl Corey, who I'm a fan of. She's my girl today in race number 10. Then you see, moving on to a group of claiming races to cap the Sunday action in 11 and 12, I'll use 2 by 3 for $18. And in talking about Day Trader, as I ramble on, and this is a filly who was well bet with Tyler G first time out, and she took all sorts of play in her debut on July 16th. It is a race we will show you from the start, and we're showing you this one. She's the number 5 from the gate for good reason. They'll spring the latch, and it's that old Rodney Dangerfield. If we could just pause it there. I mean, she's easy to spot. 2 grays towards the back. Here is Day Trader. So race unfolding up here. You would think a 2-year-old firster that was bet at 3-2 might show speed, but she walked out of the gate, and we'll just roll it from there. She ran gigantic after that slow break.
She was flying through the stretch, as you'll see. She's coming and just, you know, making her way, you know, taking her time, getting in position. And you say, well, after that break, it's impossible to win, especially at 5 furlongs. We've said this 1,000 times. If you don't break sharply, you do not win at this distance.
And the way she was able to kind of get herself within striking range without having to be really used or even hard used, I think bodes well for her talents, her straight-up talents in that department. And after that, I mean, if you just watch the race from here, you would think she had a perfect trip where she kind of moved inside, angled out 3 or 4 wide, and commenced her rally from the top of the stretch home. Very solid effort, and it gets even better here for the 10 Day Trader, who really kicked it into high gear in deep stretch and fell just about a length short of catching Holy Diver, who had a major tactical edge and a much cleaner trip, an easier trip as the outside speed. If she can go the 2-turn mile, and she does move in a spot with that scratch of American Frolic, it's post number 9, I think she's going to win at a very, very short price.
Here's the devil advocate again here. I'm going to play it. Day Trader, David Forks, 2-year-olds stretching out to a sprinter route on the turf, only 2 for 15, 13%. 27% in the money with a $1.44 return of investment. I think this is a logical horse. I actually had the other half of the entry on top. But because of that, I went with the number 5, A Gift for Glory. I think it's a logical choice to succeed at a mile after rallying gamely between horses to get beat ahead, going 7.5, so it doesn't have to stretch out in the saddle. That was my choice. I got the 10 for all the reasons you just shown.
Okay, fair enough. There are a number of freshman stallions, at least a couple of them in the mix for race number 8. You've got the Orb, 2-year-old filly, Orbital Deity on the rail, and then you've got Point of Entry, who's in the mix for the Generasios, and Joe Orsino, and Edgar Zayas, who's picked up the mount on the 3. Expect an entry. Now, this horse doesn't have an entry mate, but maybe you're getting a big effort on the turf today, and we'll give you a little rundown here in the department regarding expect an entry. I was a huge Point of Entry fan. I mean, anything Phipps and Shug, you know, being from where I'm from, of course I'm going to like that horse, and he was just a monster. Legit turf champion who was a Grade 1 runner for so long and so consistently long throughout his career. Happy to see he's gotten off to a good start at stud with 4 winners from 9 runners. Dam's a little up there in age, and she was unraced, but she's thrown a whole bunch of multiple winners, including 3 that have banked well over $100,000. And I think this one, turf, will be the answer. That's my price play behind the chalky day trader in race number 8. Let's move on, Ronnie, to race number 9 this afternoon. Here is Taking the Church. He's the star going into this $10,000 maiden claimer at 1 mile on the main track. Didn't think he could lose 2 back. Didn't think he could lose last time, and both races are basically a mirror image, a carbon copy of one another. Here's his effort July 16th. He gets a good ride from the rail. Edgar Zayas kind of sets the pace in hand, doesn't want to do too much too early because he knows probably a mile might be pushing it just a little. And I mean, come on, you're 1-5 here off the turn and you lose this race?
This is an easier spot today. If this horse does not win today, not talking about this performance here, I agree. As we mentioned, it's taken a lot of horses to the cleaners and not to the church. This horse today, I think, finds the spot. If not, you have a top 10. I have a top 10 that I'll never pick again, and this will go right to the top.
He better be number 1 if he gets beat today. I think that's a gutsy single, and that's one of the things, even when I was kind of tongue-in-cheekly writing those pick 5 comments, it was my comment in the program is to single or not single, Taking the Church. He looks best on paper, but man, oh man, I just have a tough time trusting him. So we'll get a little cute here. I'm not in love with any means or any stretch of the imagination with the one Padre, but Joe Cat had a winner yesterday. If he got Leroy's Image home yesterday, he can get this horse home over Taking a Church. Padre for me.
I couldn't believe Leroy's Image, not that it won, that it was like 7-5 or something.
Right
like that.
on top of the favorite there. 7-5, 6-5.
Yeah, and I was watching out of town, and I was going to myself, Leroy's Image is 7-5 because it's a good horse, but it never won.
What a game. He finally wins 1 for 17 now, and you had to take $4.80. Let's get Joe Cat home at a bigger price, upsetting Taking a Church in race number 9. Got a couple of minutes to talk about race number 10, which is a good thing as we come up on the Sunday feature. 3-up filly and mares in the Panama City. These are Florida-bred 3-up fillies and mares at a 2-turn turf mile. And we'll begin with our defending winner, one of 2 in the race for Ralph Nix, who really may come to the party with a couple of aces up his sleeve. First up is his Joe's Dezanimo, and maybe it's a case of back to reality, so to speak. She's very talented, but she tried the big girls in her last 3, running in the Honey Fox, running in that high-priced optional claimer during the championship meet, and then most recently the Grade 3 Intercontinental up at Belmont Park. Here's a win last October in the Panama City where she kicked it into high gear. We've got her highlighted beneath Luca Panici, who knows her well, Ronnie, and is back aboard today, and she loves GP.
Yeah, he was aboard for this victory you're showing, right? So he's back. And, you know, that performance you mentioned, finishing 9th in the 7 furlong Grade 3 Intercontinental, that wasn't the right distance for this horse. I think this will be better for this horse this afternoon at this 1 mile distance. And certainly has a shot in there, but there are a couple other ways to go in this race. Put this one on top, but very tepidly.
Yeah, I think anybody, even my girl Corey, who I like quite a bit in here, I like her as a racehorse very much, but as far as getting like the old tip of the cap for the win, it's a slight tip of the cap, and she's coming out of a really interesting run in the Treasure Coast. That was not a smooth race for a number of contenders, and we'll pick up the action in the feature here back on July 15th via the Spotlight. And I think the one you really want to watch is My Girl Corey. This is My Girl Corey. She's in the Sheep Pond Partner Silks, the Aqua Blue, and then we've also got Pancake, who's the number 10. Both of these fillies have tough trips where they ran into traffic. We'll roll the tape from there as this field will start to bunch up as they get closer to the 8th pole or so. And My Girl Corey, who inside, again, we'll just freeze it there, boys. Thank you very much. You've got her in the Aqua Blue. There is just nowhere for her to go, and Pancake has kind of got her jammed up in there, and it gets worse from here. I was hoping, and we can roll it again as they get closer to the finish line, I was hoping watching this race live that my girl Corey could get out, but nope, Pancake had a steady. Everybody had a steady, basically off the wake and the heels of the number 5 King's Ghost, who would go on to win by a whisker. I think if my girl Corey pulls a clean trip, she's got every right to just be right there with basically 4 or 5 of them.
Well, Pancake, I give a long shot each day. That is my long shot today, and I'm glad you got to show why I've made it my long shot. I had a steady out of there, and a bit of a price this afternoon, so Pancake is my long shot of the day. But I want to mention the 7 horse in here, and that's Bitacora. Wheels back in 9 days after running. Looked like it was a winning race before. Impressive late running Lantis nosed her out at the wire in a 35 optional claimer. I thought that they never saw Lantis coming. That's what I took out of that race.
And she still ran well, even if that's the case. And Lantis was way out in the middle of the track. She got a tremendous ride from Edgar Zayas. And the one thing with Bitacora, she's relentless. I mean, her closing kick is undeterred whether she runs into traffic, whether it's a slow pace, whether she's got to go 8 wide. She is so honest. Fan of hers as well. We'll both try to get her home as we have each of the Ralph Nix horses on top in the Panama City. The outside defending winner for Ronnie, I will take my girl Corey. Last dirt race on the card is a 62.50 claiming race at 1 mile. They'll break way down on the backstretch, and you and I will take one of 2 Victor Barboza trained horses in the race. Now, we did have a key scratch at the 3 Royal Mile. Seemed like Peter Walder scratched his horses late in the card today. Barboza goes with Sandbrook Edge and the 5 all hundreds.
All hundreds dropping to this level on the dirt after winning 1 of 4 races and finishing second in another. Those were at the $10,000 level on the lawn. But trainer Victor Barboza Jr. is lethal lately with the turf to dirt mood. If you look at his current record, it's about 36%.
Right.
Just thought this was the logical horse.
All right. I hope logical comes into play in race 12, because if I get live in my Sunday late pick 5 ticket, which you saw a couple minutes ago, I basically use the horses they're going to bet. Zyar Destiny is the one I'm taking on top the most. That trainer change, man, to Marcial Navarro, that won me over.
And I think she moves up with the scratch of the morning line favorite in that Who's That Chick. So tis our Destiny on top on my ticket. But I went with the other horse on here, Weekend Appeal, who's returning at the same level of distance, looking for a clean trip. Bogged down on the inside when finishing on the second turn. Lacked room in that race. It's just a bit of a trip call for me. Gerald Bennett, is he going to get off the duck? We'll see. Guess why? Tyler Gaffleone in the saddle.
An inside post, a field of 8 after scratches, and you've got scratches and changes coming your way. No need to go anywhere. Keep it locked on Gulfstream Park on this Sunday, August the 13th. Our man upstairs, Pete Aiello, who's downstairs, coming your way in just a few minutes.